Hey, it's Lucy, this digest for the bougie. So if you're choosy, come get your sight juicy.
Today we're going to talk about why we are here and what this is all about. Hi. Okay, so I'm back to talk to you a little bit more about the soul. And I'm using the model kit that I used last time. So basically, if this is the big soul, we would imagine that somewhere on this fabric we would have a little outpouching. So we take the little outpouching, and just like a string, if you could pull the string above, hi butter. Oh. If you could pull like a string out of here and have a little outpouching, you could imagine that on this string, you could make another little shape like this. So we have on the fabric of the big soul, we have an outpouching that almost like this could be considered an outpouching, would be on the fabric here. And there would be a mirror for that outpouching over here. The reason I use this symbol mostly is because it reminds me, well, besides the fact that I think it's the true form of at least the conceptual model for the big soul. It also resembles that sign that we have, and I don't know if this is just in English, if this is just in our numeric system, but the infinity sign. And as we know, the infinity sign the infinity is an idea that we can understand conceptually, but as far as infinity as a number, it's inescapable. It's by definition not concretizable. So that's sort of how I see the big soul and our souls and the small souls, which is that time and space can be collapsed if we're considering them correctly. So this infinity sign is helpful in that respect. So then we have our little outpouching, and if we can make our little outpouching into some like a shape like this or a shape like this, we could turn it on its head and we could make time an axes, and we can make space two axes, and space would be the two axes that are perpendicular to our time axes. So if we consider the top and the bottom of this sort of physical world shape, which I'm calling our soul, we have a beginning and an end, which are respective to butter. Lie down, lie down. Good girl. Yeesh. Which are respective to the physical world time. So on this tiny outpouching, we can consider time and we can consider space as though they are incollapsible, even though ultimately they collapse. So as we consider time as incollapsible, we have a beginning and an end. And I call these the portals. And I think of them as the one in the beginning as the portal, which is our birth, and at the end, or our conception, and at the end, the portal is our death. If it's of your belief that at death the soul leaves the body. That would be the point, that we'd pass through that portal. So, and then we become sort of a part of this fabric, again, in a different way, not in a physical way, not in like a little point of an outpouching. So if we have the beginning and the end, and we're looking down, it's almost like we have to cut at cross-section to see a different point in our life. Say we live till 80 years old. We'd have to cut about halfway through, maybe a little bit less than halfway through, to see 40 years old. And I'll explain why it would be not exactly halfway through later. And it has to do with life not necessarily being a year of life, or I should say a unit of life and a year of life not necessarily being the same thing if we consider life, this to be our physical world life. So often we have more life in the beginning when our hearts and our minds are more open. So when we look down at our life, we would only see, basically we would only see the last layer, or last day of our 80th year of life. And we'd see it as sort of like the space that we took up. And this it is physical space in our body, so it's like our soul in our body looks like something in this conceptual model, and it's a conglomeration of color, all 7 colors, and considering each color a percentage of that color from translucence to opacity, with translucence being the desirable form of having a color, and opacity being the undesired form of being that color. So when we look down, we also see that, so every unit, the smallest unit of life, which I call the small soul, is sort of a step. And a step has each one of the 7 colors and has a full turn. So if you think of a full turn as 360 degrees, then we think of each color taking up some space in one turn, and that would be in every small soul of our life, in every instant of our life, in every smallest unit of soul time, so to speak, of our life. And that's what I want to speak to you about today, some fundamentals. Thank you very much.